Business Brain, episode 527 for Casual Friday, February 23rd, National Rationalization Day, perhaps my favorite day of the year, 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take an idea, we dissect it, we analyze it, we use it to tune our business brains every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include GoSquaredAway.com/contact. Squared Away empowers highly educated military spouses to become your remote executive assistants. I love this idea. We'll talk more about it in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, at least when I'm recording this, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm still out here in California. I'm Shannon Jean. How's it going? Happy Friday, man.
Happy Casual Friday. Yeah, National Rationalization Day. I liked it when I saw that one.
How do you do that? That's crazy. You can rationalize anything, right?
You can. That's the thing is you're allowed to rationalize anything. I will be in Mexico on National Rationalization Day at an all-inclusive resort. So that seems like a dangerous combination.
Completely irrational.
It seems completely irresponsible.
There's some great... I want to dig into that more.
Yes.
Because I have some questions for you about that, that business model. But before we do that, I wanted to mention just a quick tidbit of a way that I am... we've talked about AI on the show quite a bit, and ChatGPT and some Gemini and Copilot, all that stuff is great. And, my concept is, or my framework is, we should be learning as much as we can about it as business owners so that we understand it, so we're not left behind, so we're not afraid of it, like it's going to replace people, whatever. But we need to be on this, on the wave here. And I think we're just at the beginning of the wave. Charlie Munger always said, get on the wave as something starts. I rode the Apple wave.
Same.
For almost 20 years, ups and downs, and it had pros and cons. So I probably made more money when Apple was having trouble than I did when they were booming. But that's because I took advantage of inefficiencies that they were not able to control. But so I'm using ChatGPT a lot. I have the paid version, which allows us to do a few more things and more computing power, I guess.
Same.
We use it for our episode artwork, which is great. I love it. You can fine tune everything. It's a little quirky. You got to learn about it. It doesn't spell worth a darn. But,
No. I have been shocked the times that I've gotten correctly spelled things in an image. Like most of the time, I have my prompt to create an image. I know that when I need to create it for the podcast, I tell it I want a wide aspect ratio image, not a square image, because it works out better. So I've tuned all these things, and I always tell it, don't put any words in the image.
And you go and put the words in later if you need it.
If I want, exactly.
Right. I've been able to this is not what I want to talk about, but it's interesting. Some of them I've done, I'll open it up in Pixelmator, and I can get in there and adjust the text and remove the wrong letter or whatever.
Yes.
So it's
I've done that too. Yeah. And Pixelmator is great if you're on a Mac. And by the way, the AI on the AI topic, all of the ad reads I do for this podcast and all my other podcasts, I now have ChatGPT write my ad scripts. I take the things that the sponsors want us to say. Over the last 19 years, what I had previously done was I would just come up with my own version of their talking points. But I noticed that I'm a human. I would get into habits with it. And you probably noticed this too, folks. If we have the same sponsor on, 3 or 4 times over the course of a couple of months, you'd hear me say approximately the same thing. And so I started feeding them into ChatGPT. And now, and I tell it, make it funny and include the catchphrase from the show. So figure out how to say charmed life as part of the sponsorship. And so even if you've already heard the Squared Away ads that we've done in previous weeks, listen to today's again, because it's going to be different. And I always try and get ChatGPT to make things that will create a script that will make it tough for me to read without laughing. So
that's cool. That's great. Yeah. And so one of the ways I'm using it, I'm working on a new book called Escaping Employment, just kind of the story of not working for anybody my whole life and all the things we've talked about a lot. But what I thought was it'd be nice to have follow-up worksheets and maybe some worksheets and different things, course material after each chapter that either somebody could do themselves or maybe somebody could give to an employee if you wanted to learn about a specific topic that I discussed in that chapter. So that's what I've been doing. I upload the chapter that I've got done to ChatGPT, and I'll say, hey, I want you to analyze this content and create a set of worksheets that can go over each of those things and create 2 sets, one for an individual and another one that an employer could give to an employee if you wanted to learn about something. I mean, if I'm talking about hiring or cash flow or technology,
that's so
anything.
Smart.
And the results are amazing. You do have to edit them to be sure it's
of course
kind of doing what you want, but that's great. I know how to edit, and
editing is way easier than creating out of whole cloth.
Yeah, and it's my content it's creating it from. I'm not asking it to create something to shortcut to write because, a book. And it's been great. And it has really filled out. I'm about 10 chapters in, and each of these chapters now is got a whole set of curriculum that somebody gets with the book. So the book will be, maybe twice as useful, or maybe exponentially more useful, but certainly twice as much content, maybe 3 times as much content. So instead of maybe a 250-page book, somebody's going to get like a 500-page book that they can dip in and out of and learn different things. So it's just a way that I'm using it that I thought might be kind of interesting to share here on the show.
All right, folks. You ever feel like your to-do list is a hydra? Chop off one task and 2 more sprout in its place. Take me, for example. Coordinating recording schedules for the podcast is like trying to nail jelly to a wall sometimes. Tricky and messy. And don't get me started on research. It's a time-gobbling monster. Oh, and meetings? Without somebody there to take notes, I might as well be talking to my plants. They're great listeners, but not so hot on the follow-up. Enter the cavalry, a.k.a. our sponsor, Squared Away. These folks are on a noble quest to empower military spouses by turning them into your go-to remote executive assistants. It's like having your own business superhero, cape and all. Imagine having a sidekick who's not just reacting to fires, but is proactive, like a business-savvy fortune teller. Squared Away assistants are ready to leap tall buildings, or at least daunting to-do lists, in a single bound. And because they operate in all U.S. time zones and are as much a part of your team as anyone else, you're not just getting help, you're expanding your business family. So why wrestle with your schedule when you can have a Squared Away assistant do the heavy lifting? Don't wait. Contact Squared Away today to find out how they can help your business thrive. Just go to gosquaredaway.com/contact. That's gosquaredaway.com/contact. Here's to making your business life a breeze, and our thanks to Squared Away for sponsoring this episode. All right, Shannon. Well, I mentioned in the intro that I'm going to be on at a resort in Mexico when these episodes come out, and you and I talked a little bit about that pre-show. And you had some questions. I'm going to see the band Phish, right? They're playing 4 nights on the beach in Mexico at a resort.
And so you've done this before.
I have. I think this is our 6th time, our 5th time, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And my comment was that why did it come up then? I'm trying to look up Phish's earnings for 2023. My comment was that Phish is basically a cult. And I thought, but I was saying that in a positive.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this band in last year, they did 41 shows. They sold just about 600,000 tickets.
Yep.
And they made the gross was just about $77 million.
Okay. And that makes sense.
I'm like, okay, so this is great. This is a business how do I do this? How do you get this cult-like following of where people not just going to go to a concert, we're going to fly to another country.
Yes.
And we're going to stay at this resort for 4 days, and we're going to go watch the same band every single night.
Correct.
Why?
So there's a lot to dissect here, and
yes.
I doubt
yes.
and I've thought a lot about this, as you might imagine. Like, Lisa and I, before we met, we both were big fans of going to see live music. Right, that's also kind of how we met, but I'll leave that story for another time. Right after we met and started dating, we both found this band Phish, and so it's been a thing that's been a constant in our relationship that has been ours, right? There's other bands we like, of course.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say that Phish is my favorite band. I mean, it's probably, top 5, certainly top 10.
Okay.
But because it's this thing that Lisa and I found together, and every Phish show is different. They won't play, like in Mexico, we will not hear over 4 nights of music, we will not hear the same song repeated once.
How can that be?
They played 13 nights at Madison Square Garden and didn't repeat a song.
So they just keep producing more content for their cult members.
Correct. Right. But this keeps it interesting, right?
Yeah.
So if they're going to play 3, and so what Phish has become for Lisa and I mean, we enjoy the shows. I enjoy the band, of course.
Yes.
But more than that, when it has become sort of the easy button for us to plan our little couples getaways and vacations. Because, well, look, where is Phish touring this summer? Oh, they're going to be in Tahoe. I've never been to Tahoe. People in New England, Tahoe's a pain in the neck if you have to fly to get there.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Because it's not, you got to fly and then drive. Right. And so people don't do that generally. Phish fans certainly do. But I'd never been to Red Rocks before. We went to Red Rocks. This was 100 years ago, but like those kinds of things because we know, they're going to be in Tahoe for 3 nights, or they're in Red Rocks for 4 nights, or they're in Mexico for 4 nights. We know that we're not just going to see the same concert 4 times in a row, which I wouldn't want to do.
Yeah. So are these, when they show up at Tahoe, Red Rock, whatever, is it, okay, we're going to be there 3 nights.
They can't play Red Rocks anymore. This was an issue. The town of Morrison, Colorado isn't big enough to hold all the people that are going to show up. It's a whole other story.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, good, exactly.
Is you always buy multiple night tickets, or you can go once, or they always do it like the series?
It depends. Okay. For Mexico, this is an all-inclusive thing. You buy a package that is your room, which, of course, it comes with your food and your drinks because that's how the resort works, and the concert tickets. That's it. And you were going to go see all of the shows. There's no, like, piecemealing those out.
Yeah, that's cool.
When they play, say, Madison Square Garden, they played 13 nights a few years ago there, kind of in a row. It was one run. They would play, like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then take Monday off, and then play Tuesday, Wednesday, and then take Thursday off, and then do Friday, Saturday. So they had this, like, thing. But it was just them. And you could buy a package of all 13 tickets. It's there on Ticketmaster. You could buy individual shows, of course. And you could also buy, you want to buy these 3 shows, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday block, and this Friday, Saturday, Sunday block. And so they'll put it all together because they know how their fans are, and they know what they've created that is of value to people. And they also know that people are going to buy more than, generally speaking, their fans are going to buy more than 1 ticket per tour. A lot of times, even a band that I would put as arguably my favorite band, the band Rush, they don't tour anymore because their drummer passed away a number of years ago. But like, it was rare for me to see them twice on one tour because they basically played the same set list.
Yes.
Right. Correct. And I would. There was one tour where I actually saw them 4 times. But
so that differentiation is part of the hook.
But they know that their fans are going to most likely see multiple shows. So they don't price their tickets like everybody else does because they know there's a maximum amount of money you can get out of people.
Okay. So tell me about that.
Yeah, concert tickets are like, for a decent seat, you'll pay $200 to $300.
Yeah. Oh, easy. Yeah. Okay.
For the longest time, Phish wouldn't go over 50. And now they try to keep it under 100 per ticket. The economy and the concert market got to the point where 50 wasn't sustainable for what they needed to do. But so now it's 100. And there's some shows that might be 110 or something like that. But by and large, those tickets are relative to the rest of the industry inexpensive. The only place where that's not necessarily the case is Mexico. One year, I made the mistake of calculating what it would have cost to stay at the resort for the same days in the same room without tickets to see Phish.
Oh.
And that's when I realized, this is where they're making up the difference.
Because they only played 41 shows last year.
Yeah.
And made, almost $77 million. So
there's a joke in the concert industry that there are only 70,000 Phish fans, but they all go to every show. And I think it's probably more than that. I think they have more than that, but
because you never hear, I would not even know who they are.
Correct.
If I did not know you. You don't hear their music. I don't ever get it even on a random playlist or radio thing on Apple Music. Of course you don't hear them on regular radio. So I guess my question to all of us is, how do we, take they've inverted, right? They've flipped it upside down on how the concert thing works. They have no hits as far as I know.
Nope.
They play.
No.
I'm sure.
Definitely do not. Yeah.
You never hear the same song, which is what people always want to go say. I want to hear this song.
I want to hear my favorite song.
My favorite song.
If you show up at one Phish concert with one song in mind that you want to hear, you won't hear it. There was one song that Lisa, my wife, always wanted to hear. We started seeing this band in 1993, and they were playing it. The song had been written before that, and they were playing it a bunch in 1993. This song called Esther. Okay. The shows and we saw a lot of shows in like 93, 94, 95, always missed it, right? We never saw it. She did not see that song. We did not see them play that song until it was that 13-night run. We didn't go to all 13.
Yeah.
But that 13-night run at Madison Square Garden in 2017. So decades.
And while you're sitting there, all of a sudden you hear it, and you must go bonkers, right?
Correct.
You're like, this is the song we wanted to hear for 10 years.
Yeah, and it was funny because in line that night,
that's discovery.
Waiting in line that night, she said, I'm hoping for Esther tonight. And a couple people around us were like, it is this 13-show run. Like, these are the runs where you get this, like, they're going to play everything. You most likely, right? Pretty
so
close.
It's kind of like going to Costco. It's a treasure hunt. You never know what's going to be there.
But you don't know when, right? And you don't even know if. Like, they could skip that song.
If you want a chance, you have to increase your odds. You have to buy more tickets.
Correct. And when that song started that night, I saw it was interesting because I saw the guitar player lean over to the piano player. It starts with like this carnival thing on the organ.
Okay.
And I saw him lean over and say the word Esther. And I didn't say anything to Lisa. I was like, cool. I'm going to, now I get to watch. I know what's about to happen. I get to watch this happen. And she, lit up, of course. Yeah. And all the people around us who had been in line with us, it's all general admission. So you wind up sitting at the show with the people that you were in line with. And like half a dozen of them turned to her and they're like, hey, you get your Esther tonight. Because they knew. Yeah. But that's part of the community of it and I think to create what they've created, and cult is not an incorrect word. It might have the wrong connotation. It might have the right connotation. I don't know.
No, in a positive manner for your customers.
Depends on your. But it's as we like going to the shows for a variety of reasons. The music is part of it. The crowd is the other part. And I heard Steve Tyler from Aerosmith say once, he's like, look, I learned early on that we are just the hosts of a party every night, but the party's not about us. We just threw the party. But it's about them. And Phish really
they're creating the environment for everybody to connect.
That's it.
For everyone to have a great time.
Yep.
There's this discovery / treasure hunt aspect of it.
100%.
You never know. Yeah, you never know what it's going to be like. Oftentimes, you have to. Yeah, so you have to buy more to increase your chances.
We'll get halfway through they usually play 2 sets of music each night with a little set break in the middle, and we'll get halfway through the first set. before we'll turn to each other and acknowledge like what type of show this is. Like it could be because they have a lot of different types of songs. I mean, they've been a band for whatever 40 years and 30 plus years, and so they've got like hard rock songs. They've got like bluegrass type songs. They've got like more prog rock stuff. I mean, it all sounds like them because it's the same four guys making the music, but there's different vibes to it. And it'll be like, we'll be 3 or 4 songs in and we'll look at each other and it's like, oh, rock show tonight. All right, cool, great. Cool. And then the vibe kind of persists, So,
that's awesome. So it's basically the Costco of
in a sense, with more community. I don't have quite the same community vibe when I walk into Costco.
When you talk about Costco or whatever, everybody's like, "Oh, I love it." Well, then I found this thing and I went there and it was great. And every time I had to go back because I was worried they were going to be gone. But a lot of the shared things, and I'm gonna
It's the mystery. It's the lore. Their first, and I think that's really important to Phish's story. I think it's important to another band that's a favorite of mine, REM. Yeah. There's lore about how the band came together and all and the stories, and you don't necessarily know all the bits and pieces of it. And I think that it's some air of mystery, some air of a story that people can weave together.
It's like the $1.50 hot dog at Costco.
Yes.
It's a story. I'm saying, and I'm using these analogies as a compliment.
Yes.
Because
you're right. But it's the mystery, the treasure hunt, the lore. Their first album really was just a musical that has yet to be like a musical, although they've performed it 5 or 6 times total in their career.
Okay.
But the songs from it wind up getting played here and there, but in its entirety, it's only been played, a handful of times. But it's a whole story about this, mythical group of creatures called the lizards, and they have this evil ruler, and it's a ridiculous story, but it's a story.
It's a story. Yeah.
And that thread winds through kind of everything that they do, and I think that kind of it gives you something to talk about. Yes,
absolutely. I love it. That's great.
Phish was one of the first bands to have an online presence. Long before the web existed, there was a news group that was dedicated just to the fans. The band was rarely part of it, but it was fans sharing set lists and stories and like all of the things. That's great. If you can create a scenario where your fans want to talk to each other,
absolutely,
you win.
Yeah,
you win. We did that with Mac Geek Gab. It's funny. Our fans of Mac Geek Gab, they like hang out. They have Zoom calls with each other. We don't even know they're happening. It's just, but it's the community. They're hanging out. They know each other. It's like great.
That's terrific.
This is freaking amazing.
I love it, and I love the You're part of a special club, a cult.
You're definitely part of a club. Oh yeah. Yeah, when we get to Mexico, we'll see. We'll get there a little earlier than most people, but there's already some people there. I know because the online community. But over time, the resort just basically becomes taken over by Phish fans.
Makes sense.
And it's just the element, and it's a very welcoming community. You can be whoever you want. Nobody cares.
That's great. Well,
which is great.
That's terrific. I'm going to break this down and do this Costco comparison thing because I'm fascinated by how this works. If you want to see that, come up on on X, on Twitter. Just follow me, Shannon Jean, and I'm going to do this on Friday when we release the show. And so we can kind of compare these two things. I think there's a great connection there.
I like it. I can't wait to read your thing. Thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's nice to get away and thaw out a little bit and go stand on the beach. It's great standing barefoot watching a concert. It doesn't get much better. Yeah. I'll see you when I get back. Keep living that charmed life, folks.